very good evening and welcome to the news tonight here on Sabha TV, where we get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi invites investors in Singapore to take part in the divestment of Navratna PSUs, seeks help in building at least 20 smart cities. BJP leaders meet to discuss strategy for the upcoming winter session of Parliament, even as the Congress gears up to bring on several issues. BJP loses high-stakes by-election in Madhya Pradesh's Ratlam Jhabua Lok Sabha, but retains the Deva seat, scores a surprise win in Mizoram. And Russia calls the shooting down of its plane by Turkey a stab in the back, as Turkey defends the action, saying that it acted in national interest. Top story this evening: addressing the Indian diaspora before winding up his two-day visit to Singapore, Prime Minister Narendra Modi credited Indians living abroad for changing the country's image worldwide. Addressing around 15,000 Indians, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, "Today the world looks towards India with great faith." Modi also invoked the legacy of the late Lee Kuan Yew, known as the founding father of Singapore, saying that India needs to learn a lot from Singapore. He further emphasized on the need to learn about cleanliness, in fact, from Singapore, asserting that it was time to change habits. The Prime Minister said that Indians have decided that they want a clean country now.
जिस धरती पर पहुंचे, जान पहचान थी या नहीं थी, हालात अनुकूल थे या प्रतिकूल थे, आपने उस धरती को अपना बना लिया। आपने उस देश के लोगों के साथ आप ऐसे मिल गए जैसे दूध में शक्कर मिल जाए।
Well, apart from addressing the Indian diaspora, the gift of a map, chacha over chai and vada, and an address to CEOs of Singapore inviting them to invest in India, that is how day two of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Singapore visit panned out. The two sides signed 10 agreements on a number of issues, including political, defense and security cooperation. Here's a report.
Taking bilateral ties a step further, India and Singapore signed 10 documents on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Singaporean counterpart Lee Hsien Loong signed a joint declaration to deepen and broaden the engagement in existing areas of cooperation and catalyse new ones, including political, defense and security cooperation and economic, cultural and people-to-people contact. The two countries also agreed to enhance bilateral cooperation in maritime security. They have agreed to operationalize the technical agreement on sharing white shipping information between the two navies. Modi and Lee also launched the stamps of Rashtrapati Bhavan and Singapore's Istana to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties. Prime Minister Modi later addressed the Indian-Singapore Economic Convention and interacted with CEOs of several companies. Promising reforms to make India more attractive for foreign investments, the Prime Minister also promised to carefully hold the investors' hands and guide them.
The last 18 months, reforms are happening in a big way. They are now reaching to the last mile. Reform is to transform the system so that they perform. Simply, but they aim at enabling the people to realize their potential and dreams.
The Prime Minister also told the CEOs that the latest round of FDI reforms in India will make the country the most open economy in the world.
We are also conscious of the last mile operational issue in such policies. In that spirit, we are fine-tuning the procedures also. Early this month, we have taken a very dynamic step to further open up the economy for FDI.
Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tribute to freedom fighters at the Indian National Army Memorial Marker. This was the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the memorial marker. It is just one of the 11 markers erected in 1995 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, for more on this story, we're joined by former Ambassador Shiv Shankar Mukherjee, joining us, in fact, this evening from the capital. Mr. Mukherjee, thanks so much for being here with us. Wrapping up that two-day visit, what, according to you, were the highlights?
Well, one must look at the background. It was in 1994, I think, that in the same state, in Singapore, that the then Prime Minister Narasimha Rao announced his Look East, India's Look East policy. Since then, our relations with the eastern countries of the eastern Indian Ocean Rim and the Pacific Rim have been totally transformed. While they were friendly and there were some substance to begin with, today there's a whole lot more of substance in terms of economic and commercial relations, security, political issues on which we cooperate very closely. The second thing I want to stress is that although Singapore is small in terms of population, it punches well above its weight in ASEAN and has built up a knowledge economy that has an influence and a clout worldwide. So in that background, the visit assumes a lot of significance. I think with Singapore, the agreements that have been signed give an indication of the sectors in which cooperation with Singapore will be boosted. To give an example, the new capital of Telangana, for instance, of Andhra Pradesh, was designed in Singapore. The ports in Singapore deal with turnaround of ships far faster than India does. So in terms of cooperation in knowledge-based and technology-based areas like smart cities, cyberspace, and so on, Singapore becomes a natural partner. Beyond that, your reporter mentioned maritime security, in which Singapore has to play a key part in terms of keeping the sea lanes open in an area where I think 90% of our trade passes. So from the political point of view, from the strategic point of view, from the economic and commercial point of view, not just bilaterally, but much more regionally, and I would say even internationally, this visit assumes importance.
Absolutely. And what has been the reaction, not just of Singapore, but even the other, the Southeast Asian nations, as far as, Prime Minister Modi is concerned and his government, the steps that he's taken, the kind of initiatives that he's coming out with, the coinage of certain terms, Swachh Bharat, you've got Make in India, Digital India. What's the kind of response that, the current government is getting?
Well, I think the response is, is extremely encouraging. Let's not forget, this visit is coming at an extremely important as well as an opportune time, this visit of our Prime Minister to Malaysia and Singapore. On the one side, as the Prime Minister announces in India as well as abroad all the time that reforms are going to be pushed forward rapidly and substantively in India. India is opening up. India has a huge opportunity. On the other hand, there are very significant movements in terms of commerce and the global economy in Southeast Asia. ASEAN has indicated it wants to move even beyond its economic grouping status to an ASEAN community, somewhat like the European Union.
Yes, even bigger,
in
fact.
The US has signed an extremely, US and other countries has signed the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which will liberalize trade, a free trade agreement that incorporates, I think, just about 60% of the world's trade. China is moving in the same direction with the regional grouping covering free trade with most of these countries. While India has free trade agreements with ASEAN as a whole and with individual countries, this is the time when our engagement and our policies in terms of using this as an opportunity and not losing out because of not being alert enough. This is a very opportune time, and this is why I think the Prime Minister's visit is going to be extremely important, and that's why I would stress follow up on these these visits would be even more important.
Absolutely. Follow up at home, how politics, of course, plays out here, how the reforms, whether go ahead or not. That's, of course, something we'll keep an eye on. Thanks so much, Mr. Mukherjee, for joining us on this story. Meanwhile, top BJP ministers held talks over the government strategy ahead of the winter session of Parliament that starts from Thursday. 38 bills, including key reform bills like the GST, are awaiting parliamentary approval. The centre expressed hope that the Congress will help pass them. Minister of Home Rajnath Singh, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu met today to give the final touches to their strategy. In fact, the government has also called an all-party meeting on Wednesday at 11 a.m. BJP Parliamentary Party Executive and NDA constituents will meet later at the Prime Minister's house, and this will be followed by an all-party meeting again called by the Speaker. Well, with just days to go for the winter session of Parliament, the opposition is also busy fine-tuning its strategy. The main opposition party, the Congress, is all set to take on the NDA government on the several issues, including intolerance. The Congress also seems to be in no mood to give in on the GST bill, a key reform bill which the government wants cleared in this session.
Having tasted victory recently in Bihar, the opposition parties seem to be on a firm footing for the winter session of Parliament beginning Thursday. The main opposition party, the Congress, is all set to corner the NDA government on a number of issues, the most important being the debate on intolerance.
हंगामा करने की हमारा कोई इरादा नहीं है। हंगामा हम नहीं भी चाहते। हम ये चाहते हैं कि पार्लियामेंट स्मूथ चले, ठीक ढंग से चले, लेकिन पार्लियामेंट को ठीक ढंग से चलाने के लिए उसकी जिम्मेदारी ज्यादा से ज्यादा गवर्नमेंट की होती है।
Other items on the agenda include issues related to farmers and the rising prices of essential commodities. The party also seems to be in no mood to give in easily on the contentious GST bill, a key reform measure of the NDA government.
Thousands of farmers are committing suicide. There is agrarian distress. There is very sharp escalation of food commodity prices. The kitchen budgets are now beyond many of the common households. Is the Parliament supposed only to discuss what the Prime Minister and his government want, just one bill?
Meanwhile, the government has called an all-party meeting on Wednesday in a bid to bring everyone on board for the smooth conduct of the House. The monsoon session of Parliament this year was a near washout due to the standoff between the opposition and Treasury benches on several issues. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, by-election results for Ratlam, Warangal, Manipur and Mizoram were announced today. The ruling Telangana Rashtriya Samiti retained the Warangal Lok Sabha seat. Its candidate, P. Dayakar, won by a massive margin of nearly 4.6 lakh votes. The ruling BJP in Madhya Pradesh lost the Ratlam Jhabua Lok Sabha seat. Kantilal Bhuria of the Congress beat BJP candidate Nirmala Bhuria. The party, however, retained the Devas Assembly seat. The BJP also opened its account in the Manipur Assembly by defeating the ruling Congress in Thangmaiband and Thongju. And former Mizoram Health Minister Lalthan Zara of the Congress won the Aizawl North 3 seat with a huge majority.
पिछले 3 महीने से पता नहीं कितने हजार करोड़ के आश्वासन घोषणाएं सब होने के बाद इतनी बड़े मार्जिन से भूरिया जी जीते हैं। कांग्रेस की जीत तो हुई है, उससे ज्यादा बड़ी शिवराज सिंह की हार हुई है।
भाजपा का मुखौटा पूरी तरह से उतर रहा है और आज जनता अपना हक दोबारा आजमा रही है और दोबारा भाजपा को अपना आईना दिखाने का काम कर रही है। और ये भाजपा, ये जीत झाबुआ में जनता की जीत है, कांग्रेस के आम कार्यकर्ताओं की जीत है और स्वयं हमारे प्रत्याशी और हमारी पूरी टीम की जीत है।
Well-known author Dr. Maheep Singh passed away today in Delhi at the age of 85. Born in a village in Uttar Pradesh's Unnao district in 1930, Dr. Maheep Singh ranks among the leading Sikh intellectuals. Associated with the RSS throughout his life, Dr. Maheep Singh's family settled down here after migrating from Pakistan a few years before his birth. His early education took place in Kanpur, and in a writing career spanning 4 decades, Dr. Maheep Singh wrote over 125 stories. His famous works include Kala Baap, Gora Baap, Pani Aur Pul, and others. On to more news, and the latest gold monetization scheme unveiled by the government has received a lukewarm response. While the government says that these are early days for the scheme, experts say the infrastructure for the scheme hasn't been fully rolled out. The banks, on the other hand, are awaiting clarifications from the government.
The government's attempt to wean Indians away from gold has got off to a slow start. Experts claim investor interest in the gold monetization scheme will pick up over time. That's if it's marketed better and the initial glitches are ironed out. The scheme requires consumers to melt down their gold and get a purity test before they can deposit it in a bank.
Monetization benefit can be given from not 2.5 to maybe 3% if required. Second thing, the procedure could be more simplified. Third thing, the underlying infrastructure to receive this gold can be made more simpler.
At present, 33 hallmarking centers and 5 gold refineries are certified to collect and test gold. Plans are afoot to increase this number.
जहां तक मोनेटाइजेशन का प्रश्न है, अभी उसका पूरा एपरेटस जिसमें गोल्ड की टेस्टिंग हो रही है वो इस्टेब्लिश होकर सेटअप किया जा रहा है.
The scheme aims to monetize an estimated 22,000 tons of gold lying idle with households and temples. The high demand for gold is a major driver for India's trade imbalance, pushing up current account deficit to record highs and weighing down the rupee. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's get you some more updates from across the country and nationwide. India has sought Switzerland's assistance in probing the accounts allegedly held by former Congress Minister Praneeth Kaur and her son Ranindra Singh. Kaur allegedly is among the 195 Indians with bank accounts with HSBC Geneva. She has earlier denied having an account with any foreign bank. The Supreme Court today refused to allow an urgent hearing on a petition related to Rahul Gandhi's citizenship row. The petitioner had sought that the apex court direct CBI to file a case against the Congress Vice President. BJP leader Subramanian Swamy had in fact recently alleged that Gandhi had claimed himself to be a British national before a UK company law authorities. Dissident Aam Aadmi Party legislator Pankaj Pushkar was on Monday marshalled out of the Delhi Assembly. The action was taken after he raised the issue of lakhs of government school students having failed the midterm exams. Pushkar also accused the Speaker of misusing his post by now not allowing him to speak. With a quick break here, up next, international news. And amid the confrontation with Turkey, Russian President Vladimir Putin reaches Iran. Details of that in a bit.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television. Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 12:30 p.m. and Sunday at 1 p.m.
Welcome back. Let's get to some international news now. In the shooting down of a Russian military aircraft by a Turkish missile has led to a confrontation of sorts between the two countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin called the incident a stab in the back by accomplices of terrorists. Turkey, however, denies any wrongdoing, saying that it had just acted in its best national interest.
An airspace violation allegedly by a Russian plane has created a wide rift between two countries. One pilot has been killed, the second is still missing, and the NATO has called for an extraordinary meeting to discuss the crisis.
Сегодняшняя потеря связана с ударом, который нам нанесли в спину пособники террористов. По-другому я не могу квалифицировать то, что сегодня случилось.
But Turkey responded saying it had acted in its national interests as it has a duty to act against anyone violating its borders.
Biz hiçbir şekilde herhangi bir ülkenin toprağında gözü olan bir şeyden gelmiyoruz, yaklaşımı benimsemiyoruz. Ama herkesin de bilmesi lazım ki.
The Russian Su-24 jet was shot by a missile from a Turkish jet over Syria about 1 kilometer away from the Turkish border following repeated warnings. However, President Putin has warned this incident would have significant consequences for Russia's relations with Turkey. He also criticized Ankara for turning to NATO to discuss the incident first, instead of explaining to Russia what had happened. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Russian president met his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani at a summit of gas exporting countries in Tehran, and it was their first meeting in 8 years. Both leaders focused on the Syrian crisis and an international peace plan intended to end that conflict. While Rouhani said that Tehran was seeking greater cooperation with Moscow on security issues, Putin pledged to continue bilateral security cooperation and find a solution to the Syrian crisis. Russia and Iran are undertaking joint military action in support of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
در زمینه مسائل منطقه‌ای و همچنین مبارزه با تروریسم که از قبل همکاری داشتیم تصمیم گرفتیم همکاری‌ها رو توسعه بدیم.
And now let's get you some more international news updates in Global Buzz. Ahead of the crucial Paris conference, the UN named India and China as the countries most affected by weather-related disasters. It said both accounted for over 3 billion disaster-affected people between 1995 to 2015. A military court in Thailand indicted 2 men accused of carrying out the bomb attack in Bangkok. 20 people were killed in the August incident that was one of the deadliest of its kind in the country's history. The men shared 10 charges, including premeditated murder, illegal possession of weapons, and murder. A bomb exploded outside the Greek Business Federation in central Athens today. It created a hole on the side of the building and pavement, but caused no injuries. Police suspect domestic guerrilla groups in the incident. It's the first such attack since leftist Prime Minister Tsipras came to power in January. A car slammed into a bus near Mexico's Gulf Coast, causing a fiery crash that killed 24 people and another injured 10 others on Monday. Authorities said that the compact car and the bus collided on a highway in the neighboring state of Puebla. All right, now some cricket news. And India will take on South Africa in the third test at Nagpur on Wednesday. India, who already lead the 4-match series 1-0, will aim to deliver a knockout blow in the penultimate test. Indian spinners will be looking to pose a great threat to the visitors, having sent them packing for scores of 184, 109 and 214 in the 3 completed South African innings so far. With R. Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja in impressive form, leg spinner Amit Mishra is likely to regain his spot in the playing 11. For South Africa, it's a do-or-die game with keeping the contest alive. Both teams settled for a draw in the second test, which was washed out in Bengaluru.
The guys are in good shape, looking in good nick and feeling good mentally about approaching this test match. So I think that's the most important thing. What's gone is gone. We have to look forward to every day as it comes, and starting tomorrow is another opportunity to play some good cricket.
Dale Steyn's probably won't play this test match. Don't think his injury has recovered fully. Just when I took over the captaincy, one of the ideas was to give me a bit more time, especially if we fielded first to bat at 4. But as I said, you never know what, we are a team in a little bit of transition with a couple of new faces, so we're still finding the right, I'd say the perfect batting order.
And now let's get you some more updates from the world of sports in SportsBeat. India's K. Srikanth made a shock opening round exit in the Macau Open badminton tournament. Srikanth lost to Indonesia's Jonathan Christie in straight games 21-16, 23-21. However, B side Praneeth advanced to the second round, beating Indonesia's Fikri Isandi Hadmadi 21-18, 23-21. Pakistan pulled out of the SAFF Championships to be played in Thiruvananthapuram from the 23rd of December. According to reports, the Pakistan Football Federation has been crippled by groupism and power struggle. Due to controversial elections, the Lahore High Court has put on hold all activities of the PFF. Bayern Munich will face Olympiacos in the Champions League Group F match on Wednesday. Host Bayern are likely to be without left back David Alaba, who is suffering with an ankle injury. Both teams are tied for first place in Group F with 9 points. Rafael Benitez will remain Real Madrid manager after getting support from club president Florentino Perez. Benitez faced a backlash after a humiliating 4-0 defeat against arch-rivals Barcelona on Saturday. The defeat also left Real third in La Liga, 6 points behind leaders Barcelona and 2 behind city rivals Atletico Madrid. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.